Meet the darkest player in NFL history. Aaron Hernandez was unstoppable. From 2010 to 2012, he caught 175 passes for over 1,900 yards and 18 touchdowns, becoming one of the youngest players in NFL history to reach 100 career receptions. He made defenses scramble, coordinators panic, and fans believed they were watching the future of the tight end position unfold. Hernandez wasn't just athletic, he was explosive, creative, and he played like every touchdown was personal revenge against anyone who ever doubted him. "I'm going to show them what I'm about," he'd say. "I'm going to show them who Aaron Hernandez really is." And this was a guy who came from nothing, a kid from Bristol, Connecticut, who had every reason to fail, but instead became one of the most promising young stars the league had ever seen. Now he's remembered as the darkest player in NFL history, a murderer, a man whose demons consumed everything good about his life. But how did someone with so much talent, so much potential, become the most chilling cautionary tale the sport has ever produced? And what darkness was lurking behind that million-dollar smile? Aaron wasn't born a killer. In fact, as a kid, he was incredibly gifted. He excelled at every sport he touched: football, basketball, even bowling. But there was always something different about Aaron, something his family and friends couldn't quite put their finger on. His father, Dennis, was his anchor, the one person who could keep Aaron grounded. But when Aaron was just 16 years old, that anchor was ripped away. Dennis Hernandez died suddenly during a routine hernia surgery, and in that moment, something inside Aaron broke. The kid who had been goofy, playful, and full of life suddenly became distant, angry, and began surrounding himself with the wrong crowd. He started getting into fights, skipping school, and worst of all, he began experimenting with drugs. Anything to numb the pain of losing the only man who truly understood him. But even through all that chaos, Aaron's talent on the football field was undeniable. At Bristol Central High School, he was a man among boys. 62 catches, 1,346 yards, and 16 touchdowns in his senior year alone. College scouts were drooling over his combination of size, speed, and hands. He wasn't just a tight end. He was a weapon that could line up anywhere and destroy defenses. And because of that, he had every major program in the country calling his name. Aaron decided on the University of Florida, joining head coach Urban Meyer's powerhouse program. As a freshman in 2008, he stepped onto the field early, which is rare for any position, but especially tight end, and contributed to the team's national championship. His junior year, he wasn't just contributing, he was dominating. 68 catches, setting an SEC and University of Florida tight end record. But even in college, there were warning signs that something wasn't right. Aaron failed a drug test for marijuana. He got into bar fights. There were whispers about his association with known gang members from his hometown. Urban Meyer later admitted he was walking on eggshells with Aaron, never knowing which version of him would show up each day: the talented team player or the angry young man carrying demons no one could see. Over his college career, he dominated with 111 catches for 1,382 yards and 12 touchdowns. He was the most dynamic tight end in college football, a matchup nightmare that defensive coordinators had no answer for. At this point, you would think NFL scouts would be all over him, but there were red flags everywhere: failed drug tests, character concerns, and questions about his associates back home. In fact, some teams took him completely off their draft boards, but his talent was too good to ignore. At the NFL Combine, he ran a 4.64 40-yard dash at 6 feet 1 inch and 245 pounds, put up 30 bench press reps, and showed off incredible agility for his size. His production and athletic scores were off the charts. There was one team that saw past the concerns and focused on the potential: the New England Patriots. So with the 113th pick in the 4th round of the 2010 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Aaron Hernandez. Bill Belichick and the Patriots took a calculated risk on the troubled kid from Connecticut, and at first, it looked like genius. Paired with fellow tight end Rob Gronkowski, Aaron became half of the most dangerous tight end duo in NFL history. As a rookie, Aaron caught 45 passes for 563 yards and 6 touchdowns, but the stats don't tell the story. When you watched the film, you could see it. He was different. He ran routes like a receiver, caught passes in traffic like it was nothing, and had the football IQ to find soft spots in coverage that defensive coordinators didn't even know existed. Tom Brady loved throwing to him because Aaron was always exactly where he was supposed to be. By his second year, there was no debate. Aaron Hernandez was special. He caught 79 passes for 910 yards and 7 touchdowns, helping the Patriots reach Super Bowl 46. Aaron had 8 catches for 67 yards in that game, but it wasn't enough. The Giants beat New England 21-17, and Aaron was devastated. Promised himself and his teammates that they'd be back. For Aaron, this was just the beginning. In 2012, he exploded onto the scene in ways no one saw coming. 51 catches, 483 yards, and 5 touchdowns. But those numbers don't capture his impact. Aaron and Gronk were rewriting the playbook for how to use tight ends. They could split out wide, line up in the slot, motion across the formation. They made the Patriots' offense impossible to defend. The Patriots were championship contenders, and Aaron was being mentioned alongside the elite tight ends in the league. At just 23 years old, he was already being compared to legends like Tony Gonzalez and Shannon Sharpe. The sky seemed to be the limit. So naturally, you'd think the Patriots would lock him up with a long-term deal, right? And they did. In August 2012, Aaron signed a 5-year, $40 million extension, with $16 million guaranteed, making him one of the highest-paid tight ends in football. He had made it. The kid from Bristol who lost his father, who battled demons and made mistakes, was now set for life. But getting that money didn't calm Aaron's demons. It fed them. See, while Aaron was becoming a star on the field, off the field he was spiraling into darkness that nobody could see. He was still using drugs heavily. PCP, angel dust, marijuana, anything to numb the pain that had been eating at him since his father died. But worse than that, he was associating with dangerous people from his past, gang members, drug dealers, killers. And Aaron wasn't just hanging around these people, he was becoming one of them. In July 2012, just 1 month before signing his massive contract extension, Aaron Hernandez is alleged to have committed his first murder. Daniel De Abreu and Safiro Furtado were gunned down outside a Boston nightclub after a minor incident where De Abreu accidentally spilled a drink on Aaron. That's right, Aaron Hernandez allegedly killed 2 innocent men over spilled drinks, but nobody knew. To the outside world, he was still the golden boy. The Patriots' tight end has the infectious smile and unlimited potential. He was playing football at the highest level while literally getting away with murder. The duality was chilling. But Aaron's demons weren't satisfied with 2 murders. They wanted more. On February 13, 2013, Aaron got into an argument with Alexander Bradley, a man who had been with him the night of the double murder. Bradley knew too much, had become a liability. So Bradley alleged Aaron shot him in the face, leaving him for dead in an industrial parking lot in Florida. Miraculously, Bradley survived, but he lost his right eye. And still, nobody connected any of this to Aaron Hernandez, the NFL star. He was living a complete double life, beloved teammate and fan favorite by day, cold-blooded killer by night. The fact that he could compartmentalize like that he could be laughing with Tom Brady in practice and then planning murders, shows just how dark his mind had become. But Aaron's final victim would be the one who brought his whole world crashing down. Odin Lloyd was dating the sister of Aaron's fiancée, Shayana Jenkins. Odin was a good kid, worked at a landscaping company, and played semi-professional football. But Aaron became paranoid that Odin knew too much about his criminal activities. On June 17, 2013, Aaron picked up Odin Lloyd from his apartment in Dorchester. Security cameras captured them together at Aaron's house earlier that night. They seemed friendly, like nothing was wrong. But around 1 a.m., Aaron and 2 accomplices drove Odin to an industrial park in North Attleboro, just a mile from Aaron's mansion. What happened next was execution. Plain and simple. Aaron Hernandez shot Odin Lloyd multiple times and left his body in the dirt like he was nothing. A 27-year-old man with his whole life ahead of him, murdered by someone he trusted. But this time Aaron had made mistakes. His phone records, surveillance footage, and physical evidence created a trail that led right back to him. On June 26, 2013, 9 days after murdering Odin Lloyd, Aaron Hernandez was arrested at his home. The footage is haunting. This 23-year-old kid who had everything in the world, walking out in handcuffs, his NFL career over forever. The Patriots released him within hours of his arrest. His $40 million contract voided. His legacy destroyed. But the story was just beginning. As investigators dug deeper into Aaron's life, they uncovered a web of violence and criminality that shocked even seasoned detectives. The double murder in Boston, the shooting in Florida, associates who feared for their lives, a man who had been living as a predator while masking as a professional athlete. The trial for Odin Lloyd's murder was a media circus. Cameras in the courtroom, wall-to-wall coverage on every major network. America watched as prosecutors laid out the evidence piece by piece. Phone records showing Aaron's movements that night, surveillance footage of him holding what appeared to be a gun, his own words on recorded jail calls that showed zero remorse. But Aaron's lawyers tried to paint a different picture. They argued he was present, but not the shooter, that his co-defendants, Ernest Wallace and Carlos Ortiz, were the real killers. Aaron himself maintained his innocence, even as the evidence piled up around him. He truly believed he was smarter than everyone else, that his fame and money would save him. On April 15, 2015, the jury delivered their verdict.
What say you, Madam Foreperson? Is the defendant not guilty or guilty?
Guilty.
Guilty of first-degree murder. Aaron Hernandez was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The kid who once had the world at his feet would spend the rest of his life in a 7x10 cell. But even then, his demons weren't finished with him. While serving his sentence, Aaron was charged with the 2012 double murder of Daniel D'Abreu and Safiro Furtado. The prosecution argued that Aaron had been a killer long before anyone knew, that Odin Lloyd was just his final victim. The evidence was circumstantial, but damning. Ballistics, witnesses, Aaron's own behavior. In April 2017, in a shocking turn, Aaron Hernandez was acquitted of the double murder charges. His defense team had successfully argued reasonable doubt. For a brief moment, Aaron allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, he could appeal his other conviction and find a way out of his nightmare. But 5 days later, on April 19, 2017, Aaron Hernandez was found dead in his prison cell. He had hanged himself using bed sheets. The 27-year-old who once caught passes from Tom Brady in sold-out stadiums died alone in the darkness he had created for himself. But even in death, Aaron's story continued to shock. Researchers at Boston University examined his brain and found that he had severe chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, stage 3 out of 4, the most severe case they had ever seen in someone so young. The damage was so extensive that it affected areas of his brain responsible for impulse control, decision-making, and emotional regulation. This discovery sparked debates about whether football had created a monster or simply unleashed one that was already there. Did the repeated head trauma Aaron suffered playing football turn him into a killer? Or were his demons always lurking, waiting for the right circumstances to emerge? The truth is probably somewhere in between, but it doesn't excuse what he did. Aaron Hernandez's story is the darkest tale in NFL history because it shows how completely someone can fool the world. For years, he was beloved by teammates, coaches, and fans who had no idea they were cheering for a murderer. He sat in team meetings, ate dinner with families, signed autographs for kids, all while carrying the secret that he had taken innocent lives. The victims, Daniel D'Abreu, Safiro Furtado, and Odin Lloyd, they deserved justice. Their families deserved answers. Aaron Hernandez stole their futures. and destroyed countless other lives in the process. He had every advantage: talent, money, opportunity, and he chose darkness instead. That's what makes his story so chilling and so tragic. When you think about Aaron Hernandez now, don't remember the highlight reels or the touchdown catches. Remember that beneath that Patriots uniform was someone capable of unspeakable evil, someone who used his fame and status as a shield while he hunted human beings. He wasn't just the darkest player in NFL history. He was one of the darkest people to ever wear a professional jersey. If you want to understand how deep the darkness can go, how completely someone can hide their true nature, look no further than Aaron Hernandez. If you found this story as chilling as we did, make sure to subscribe to Endzone Exposed and check out our other deep dives into the sports world's most shocking stories.